Hey, welcome to the question and answer video blog. First of all, I want to say how impressed I am at how many people replied to my sort of starting up the video blog again and going to my website, motormouth.ca, and getting questions in. I got a lot, I must say. And thank you for that. I'm not going to be able to get through all of them just now, so I'm doing them in chronological order. So if you want to get a question in, go to my website, motormouth.ca. It's the easiest way for me because they come all in one email and I can look them up very quickly instead of trying to find them in different comment sections of several different videos. So it's easier for me. You want to get a question in, go to my website, motormouth.ca, click on the contact tab and get a question in. So I'm going in chronological order. Let's get right to the questions. This one comes from Derek, lives in Calgary. I waited long and hard, but still haven't seen a review on the Infiniti QX30 all-wheel drive. I recently bought one, but would love to know your thoughts. This is my first premium vehicle, aside from the interior space. I'm in love with the power and capacity. You think you'll do a review? Thoughts are definitely appreciated. A longtime watcher and subscriber, keep up the amazing work. So let's get into what the QX30 is. The QX30 is a joint venture with Mercedes-Benz. It has been out as the B-Class for several years, and Infiniti ran away with that platform and developed their car to look more like an Infiniti model. From the outside, from certain angles, it does have a sort of a resemblance to the Mercedes B-Class. On the inside, I think that Infiniti did a better job of making it their own. Unlike Mercedes that has like sort of an iPad application on the dash, they integrated the screen into the dash a little bit better. Now in Canada, this is a bit of an oddball. Now I did drive the vehicle and I did a video for one of the dealerships here locally. I do some custom videos for them and I did get a chance to drive it. The problem I have is they only sell one all-wheel drive model, and it looks like that's the one that you bought, the QX30 all-wheel drive. So the base model is front-wheel drive, and their sport model, their top model, is front-wheel drive, which makes no sense. They only have one all-wheel drive trim. Now, yeah, it drives very similarly to the Mercedes-Benz B-Class, and the issue I have with it is when you start shopping one to the other, you know, all of the B-Classes are available with all-wheel drive, and you start looking at the options and things. The only issue I have is that if you're going to be spending similar money, maybe just get the Mercedes. It's got the three-pointed star on the front and probably is a little bit more prestigious than investing in an Infiniti product. The next question comes from Boston in North Vancouver. He says, we're looking to replace my mother's 2003 BMW 530. It's got 100,000 kilometers on it. She bought it back in '03 and has loved the car. It's 14 years old. Time to add another family. This car has been reliable for a BMW. That's good to hear. She wants an SUV because she likes sitting up higher. Everybody's moving to SUVs. She's going to be going with 1 to 2 people in the car. We're entertaining $45,000 to $75,000 plus taxes, so that's a wide spectrum. She's planning on keeping this car for 10 to 15 years, kind of like the old BMW. She likes tighter steering, responsiveness, smoothness in the car, requirements, no CVT. I agree with that. Smooth power, generous cargo space for traveling. Leather, lots of bells and whistles. We like the look of the Acura RDX and MDX. However, she finds the steering too loose. We're looking at Q5, Q7. The Q5 is possible and the Q7 can get expensive and it's a bit big. The X3, she's worried about reliability. We looked at the Honda Pilot, don't like the 9-speed. I agree with you there. The infotainment system, I agree with you there. We've taken a look at the Lexus RX and NX, but both of these cars have not as much space as we'd like. Lastly, the Highlander, it's reliable. The interior doesn't seem the same quality and luxury as you get in a German vehicle. Absolutely true. At the end of the day, she wants an SUV, has enough space on trips, 2 to 4 people, luxury and sportiness. All right, I suggested the SQ5 as a possible and an X5. Not sure about the Volvo XC90. So we got a lot to cover here. So this is somebody that keeps their car for 10 plus years, likes German cars, likes road feel, likes sportiness, likes the German refinement, likes the interior amenities, has quite a bit of money to spend, $45,000 to $75,000 plus taxes. So I will take the RDX and the MDX out. I agree with you. They're not going to be the kind of responsive drive you're going to are used to. Now, the Q7 you find is too big, so that one's gone. The RX and the NX you don't like that much. So let's get down to some BMW options. I disagree on the X3. I think the X3 has proven to be quite reliable. It's available with a beautiful inline 6-cylinder engine that has 300 horsepower. That's the turbo 3-liter, and it is a wonderful, wonderful engine. And when you combine it with their sport package, that is a lot of fun to drive. However, the X3 is getting older now. It's due for a refresh, and because Audi is just coming out now, just hitting dealerships literally in the next weeks or so, is the new Q5, which I think, because it is the newest and it's built on that same platform as the A4, the A5, and the Q7, that I absolutely think is wonderful. That is going to kind of move to the front of the pack when it comes to that sort of smaller utility vehicle. Now, one that I think you should consider is the X5. I think it does have, especially when you get the sport package in the X5, that real sort of solid feel. One of the complaints of the X5 for me in the past has been the heavy steering. So drive one with and without sport package and different size wheels, because it does make a big, big difference. Here's the thing. You have had a BMW, you've had good reliability with it, and you obviously have a relationship with the dealer, so maybe start there first. Try the X3 with the 3-liter, and maybe try the X5 with the diesel. If you're going to be keeping it long term, the diesel is going to return great fuel economy, wonderful torque, and more than enough room for everybody inside. It's really quite big. Here's one to consider. How about looking at a pre-owned Porsche Cayenne? I think that ticks all the boxes. It's got just the right amount of space. It's got room for everybody inside. It's prestigious. It's very well made. I owned one and had it for 6 years and really had no trouble with it at all. If you're used to the sort of pain tolerance of owning a German car for 10 plus years, you know what you're getting into. So maybe a pre-owned Porsche Cayenne would be worth looking at, because that is the vehicle that is going to tick all the boxes for you. Hey Zach, great work. I've been following you since you've been on TV. I'm a university student, been looking at a secondhand Subaru Forester and Legacy to be my first car. What are your thoughts on these vehicles, and what other competitors that you can recommend? Well, for the Forester, there's tons. Like, you can look at any small utility vehicle that's going to have all-wheel drive. The Forester, and I don't know, you're not telling me how old you're looking at here for these vehicles. There have been issues in the past with Subaru products when it comes to head gaskets. Subaru products rate very highly in terms of initial quality, but in their dependability longer term, they don't do as well. So there are so many choices to think about out there. One would be a 2012 up to 2015 CR-V. Really any model, RAV4, if you're looking at a Forester Challenger. And for a Legacy, there are lots of options. If you're getting a newer Legacy, you're getting a car with a continuously variable transmission. So I would kind of steer away from that and look for a car like a pre-CVT Honda Accord would be a good option. So a little more information, Lex Lee would be great information. This next one comes from Ryan. I'd like to buy a used SUV, preferably mid-size, as a daily driver. I don't want to spend more than 30 Canadian before taxes. I could creep up a little bit. One that isn't too old, plus I keep it for 10 years. For example, the RX has excellent reliability, but requires handing in my man card. Kind of agree with that. The X5 seems reliable and overpriced. Unreliable, I should say, and overpriced, and everyone and their mom seems to own a boring Q5. Does my fantasy SUV exist? Okay, now, as much as I said in the previous comment that the RDX and the MDX are not going to be for somebody who's had a 5 Series BMW, that might not be engaging enough for you, but an Acura RDX is a very well-made product. Like, this is something you're going to buy used. They start around $40,000 new, so you can definitely find one that's not too old, that's going to be right in your $30,000 wheelhouse. It's basically a V6 version of the CR-V from Honda. Very nicely equipped. They really only came with 1 or 2 options if you're buying it a few years old. They had the base model, then they had like a tech package that added things like a power tailgate and some of the nice things you're going to want. Yes, if you're getting into, first of all, you're buying a used car, so it might be 3-4 years old, and then you want to keep it for 10 years. Well, now you're talking about a vehicle that is going to be 10 plus years old by the time you get rid of it. Now, it doesn't sound to me that you've owned a premium import car before. Like the previous question, they have kept a BMW running for 14 years, because you really have to have, it's easy to buy a premium car. It's a different thing to keep it and maintain it. And somebody that has owned many BMWs and other premium cars, there is a commitment there to spend the money to keep them running. So if you've never done that before, my advice to you is either lease a new German car or buy an RDX from Acura. The RX from Lexus is a fine car. I think the RDX is a little bit more engaging to drive. Other vehicles, yeah, Murano, not so much. It's got a continuously variable transmission. So I think the RDX for 30, you're really asking a lot here. $30,000, premium product, and you want to keep it for 10 years. That's the one I would choose, because that is a product that is known and should be, if you maintain it properly, quite easy to keep running. Next one comes from Kevin. We're looking to decide between these two. That's a A4 Quattro and a C300 4MATIC Mercedes-Benz. Looking to spec these out between 60 and 62,000. So these are heavily equipped cars. What are the strengths and weaknesses of each? And would the sport package be worth going for on these? Tested the C300 with sport package and it felt stiff-legged. That's good. While the A4 we tried did not have the sport package. That's the S-Line. We're leaning towards the C-Class right now. Here's the thing. They're both excellent choices. They're both recent. The C-Class has been out for 2 years now, I think. The A4 just came out last year. I talked about this in my last question and answer. I lean more towards the A4. The new platform that they're using for the A4, the A5, the Q5, and the Q7, I think is fantastic. It's lighter. It gives you better fuel economy. A neighbor of mine that I got into a A4 with the S-Line, which is the one I would suggest you get, absolutely loves it. It's quick, it handles well, it's sporty, it has excellent fuel economy, but looks a little dull on the outside. The C300, in my eyes, you might find it's stiff-legged, and that's good, but I find it isn't stiff enough for me. I do actually have a C63 AMG S parked in front of the house right now. That is stiff. That is more to my liking. My final thought is to get out there and really drive them with the packages that you want. So C300 Sport, and then get the S-Line and the A4 and drive them back to back and see what you think. There's no problem getting either one of them. You know, I don't have the email here, but somebody brought up a valid point. I often talk about platforms, and it shares a platform. What does that mean? What it really means is that car companies have to invest a ton of money in order to build a platform. Now, typically, a new platform for a family of vehicles is going to cost well over $1 billion, and sometimes more than that. So what they do is the base of the car is designed nowadays to be scalable. And I talked about the A4, the A5, the Q5, and the Q7 all sharing the new Audi platform. Volkswagen has their MQB. Toyota has been doing platform sharing for many, many years. So what they do is they invest in this platform. Typically it's stronger, it's more rigid, it has the ability to be lighter because it's using better strength steel. But the bolting points typically from model to model are all very similar, and they have the ability to scale the platform, make it longer, make it wider. And like, for example, the same platform that's used in the Audi A4 is also used for the large Q7 7-passenger 3-row SUV. Well, how is that possible? Well, they make it longer and they make it wider. But when they invest the money in that, all of the tooling and everything that goes into it is common across those vehicles. So they can have common engines. Well, the same inline 4-cylinder engine is used in all of those products. They have the ability to put in the larger 6-cylinder engines. They have common transmissions, common bolting points for the suspension. So when they invest all of that money into that platform, it is scalable and it can be used across many different vehicles. Now, the one or two attributes that each of these vehicles will have in common is if it's a lightweight platform, it's going to be lightweight, therefore using less fuel. And stiffness is a huge priority for from many car manufacturers. So if they get a very rigid platform, that improves handling and allows the suspension to do its work, and that sort of characteristic will be shared across many vehicles. So the touch points of the suspension, the way the transmission and engine are used inside the vehicle is common, and then they can bolt on different sizes and shapes. So hopefully that explains when you talk about a common platform. Well, I didn't even get through half of the questions. And it's great to see that they're coming in fast and furious, because what happened with the previous batch of these Q&As is that it sort of petered out and there was a small group of people that are asking similar questions over and over. So hopefully you can get some questions in. I will get to them all. It's going to take some time though. So go to my website, motormouth.ca, and in the contact tab, click on that, get the question through, and keep on watching. And make sure you subscribe as well, and you'll get notifications when these pop up. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you soon.